Thanks, Peggy. Wow. 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 Look where we are. Look at that. There's an expression that says, first impressions are everything. I've always been fascinated by that expression. I just have. Kind of know it, understand what it means. We have to make a good first impression. This is impressive, yeah? Beautiful set, beautiful audience. You're all dressed up nice. I see you got rid of your COVID outfits. It's beautiful to be here. And I'm not going to argue the idea that first impressions matter, but I'm also even more fascinated by the alternative way of saying that. You only get a first chance to make an impression. One chance. Really, one chance. I'm going to suggest that's not quite accurate. I'm going to tell you why. When you look at me, right up here, and boy, am I honored, I'm your designated opening keynote speaker from $1 Million Roundtable Nashville 2023. Yeah! Yeah! I kind of look like one, don't I? I look like a motivational speaker. Got the jacket, got the pin, oh Canada. I know. Got the expensive Italian shoes with no socks. Yeah, playing the part, look like one. First impression, done. But let's talk about the second impression. Because people don't see me in a jacket all the time. This is typically what they see. This is what it looks like. This is my body. It gets noticed, but it doesn't evoke smiles. Promise you. People don't look at me for the first time and go, hey, dude, you got no arms. That's awesome. No, they don't say that. They say stuff I can't tell you, but it's accurate because I don't quite fit the regular profile of what we call normal. I can't do the air quotes either. But this is what I look like, and it always fascinates me because this fills a demographic which is accurate. I am technically a person with a disability. But just for fun, let's go to one more shot at impressions. You ready? Okay, here we go. Enjoy the moment. All right, you can clap for that if you like. Thank you. I know this is very un-Canadian to brag about myself, but that was impressive, wasn't it? I agree. Thank you very much. It's why I did it. I want to impress you. Why wouldn't I? It's what we're all doing here on this stage. Next couple of days, all the workshop rooms. All the speakers are here to make an impression on you so you will leave Nashville, hopefully, better than you came. More knowledgeable, more wisdom, more expert advice. No question about it. But isn't it interesting? 3 minutes so far, and you've had 3 impressions of me. Don't you find that interesting? Because does the first impression really matter, or is the most important impression the one we leave behind? The last one, our reputation, our name, and what we stand for. It's just a thought. I made quite an impression on July 22nd, 1960, day I was born. You picture that one? Yeah. Wasn't alone, though. There was around 20,000 of us born between 1958 and 1962 in countries all over the planet, and they called us thalidomide babies. Do you remember that, any of you? Thalidomide? It's that morning sickness medication that was supposed to help with nausea. The only problem with it was they didn't think to test it before they gave it, and now we know better. We know better about a lot of things we didn't know better about back then. Thalidomide was a horrible thing. I had a hard time adjusting to it growing up. Had a hard time being a happy guy. Had a hard time accepting that this was going to be my life. Kind of gave a whole new meaning to, that's not fair. No kidding. Why me? I said, over and over and over again. I'm going to be 63 in July, and I've never once heard an answer to the question, why me? Not once. But I kept asking it, hoping for an answer, because I felt like I indeed was a victim. It perils you to be able to pursue excellence when all you're doing is spending time trying to find blame for what happened to you. So let's fast forward. August 23rd, 1985, banner day in the life of Alvin Law. It's the day my son Vance was born. So yes, I'm also a dad. Thank you. Don't try to figure out how that happened, just go with it, okay? If you're a parent, you know what that day is like. I'll always remember it. Up in Canada, province of Saskatchewan, I'm in the operating room, watching that baby being born. Boy, that's a sight, isn't it? Watched him take his first breath. Watched him scream the first time. And I got into a trance. I couldn't stop looking at him. Wow, that's a person. That's my person. Wow. And then I got shook out of my trance by a voice. I heard this voice. Excuse me, Mr. Law, this is typically where the fathers cut the umbilical cord. And I said, they don't really let me play with scissors. So I let them cut the cord. They tied that knot. That's a skill. Gave him a bath. Made him all shiny and clean. Put him in a blanket. Got me a chair. I sat down. And they put him here. He fit here. He doesn't fit here anymore. Do I look old enough to have a 38 almost year old kid? Seriously. Where does the time fly, huh? Unbelievable. How's he doing? Good. He does get this question, though. How does it feel having a dad without arms? I love this answer. It's not like I got to pick. No kidding, huh? Do you ever consider this? I don't know, maybe it's just me. Nobody, not one human being in this room got to pick the life they were given. Right? Or did you? No, we don't. But I think I'm safe in saying we do get to choose our attitude towards that life. I didn't really understand that. I heard about attitude my whole life growing up. But I swear to you, that day on August 23rd, 1985, holding that brand new life, this thought had never once occurred to me, ever. I wonder how my mom and dad must have felt the first time they held me. I was born without arms. I wonder how that day went. And then this one, man, I'm serious, it clobbered me over the head, metaphorically. My mom was 55 years old the first time she held me, and my dad was 53 years old, and I was homeless. It's real, not melodrama. Now, did we live on the street? No. Was I an orphan? No, my parents didn't die. But they chose not to keep me. I don't know why. I think maybe we could come up with an answer of, makes perfect sense. Who would want that? But that's the way it was. They made the decision, they signed some papers, they left the hospital. And I got to tell you, I sat there thinking about my 55 and 53-year-old parents when they met me. And I knew this all. They were foster parents. They had a little foster home in a place called Yorkton, Saskatchewan. Jack and Hilda Law were people of faith. Jack was a machinery mechanic and a service manager for an international harvester truck and tractor dealership. Most of his clients were farmers. He worked 18-hour days, and Hilda had a few hours to spare in her life. She said, I'm going to take in foster kids, mostly teenagers, children with trouble. They'd take them in for a while, not judge them, nurse them back to mental health, and send them back wherever they came from, or maybe somewhere better. So when I ended up in the hospital in 1960 with nowhere to go, Hilda Law said, I'll take him. Who does that? Well, I think there's more people in the world that would do that than we think, because we think sometimes people are bad. Now, there's a few out there. But I got to tell you, I tend to think of it the other way around. Hilda Law and Jack Law were a piece of work, I got to tell you. They didn't have any idea what they were doing. Taking a kid home with no arms, no knowledge, no background. This was 1960. My mom couldn't exactly Google, no arms. Siri, what do we do? Is there a YouTube video for that? No, she couldn't do that. So she kind of had to go with her instincts. But even she said it wasn't easy. Until one morning she came into my bedroom, I don't know how old I was dangling a little teddy bear between my first and second toe by its left ear. Someone kind of went, huh, you don't see that every day. So she got curious. She was struggling with this idea of what is it that I would actually be able to do or not do. And Mom kept it real simple. She kept thinking, I wonder if he'll ever hold his baby bottle. Now, we didn't have a cool handle like this, right? So how was I going to do it? She had an idea. She put me in my crib, put my baby bottle on a pillow sideways, kind of slanted it down like this, laid me on my side, plugged it in my mouth, thinking gravity would feed me. Didn't work, because I immediately rolled over, because I'm really good at rolling over. You know that game little kids play, rolling down hills? I was awesome at that game. But Jack and Hilda Law's history could have gone both ways. They had the depression that started their marriage. Jack Law went and fought in World War II, came back a veteran with medals on his chest and things in his head he never talked about. But they chose the positive response. They chose to try to see the good in all of the bad. They never quit. They never gave up. I know that sounds cliche, but imagine having that as the mantra in your home. So when I rolled over, Mom just put the bottle back on the pillow, and I rolled over and the bottle back on the pillow, and I rolled over and the bottle back on the pillow. And on a Friday morning, my mom came into my room, and I was sitting up in the corner, and I had the bottle between my feet, and I was sucking away, having a great time. So you can imagine, even my mom got curious. I wonder what else he can do. So she took me out of my crib, she put me on the floor, she stuck a bunch of toys in front of me and waited to see what I would do. She said, I grabbed the toy with my toes and I started to play. Is this the toy? No, actually, it's a hairbrush. I don't need a hairbrush. But one of the things that happens in every question and answer session I have, which is not tonight, they say things like, how do you wash your face? How do you brush your teeth? How do you brush your hair? Like this. I'm not trying to show off here, but this is kind of impressive too, right? Yeah. But my point is not, look what I can do. My point is, look what my mom did. She turned my feet into my hands. My so-called handicap disappeared. To me. Our biggest challenge in life, which is not unique, would be the world, our culture, our society, that in those days degraded people with disability. It's fascinating how far we've come. It's one of my favorite examples. There was a school right across the street from our home in Yorkton, Saskatchewan, St. Alphonsus Elementary School. Walked across the street with my mom and dad, signed up for my education. Walked into the library first, had dainties. Mom and dad had a coffee or a tea. I had a donut. Did you know that a donut fits perfect on your big toe? Try it sometime. Maybe not in the store. Just saying. Went into the principal's office. He closed the door. Sat in front of him. Dad's there. Mom's there. Principal's there. And he says, "Sorry, Mr. and Mrs. Law, but he can't come here." My dad went, "We live across the street." "Well, Mr. Law, we know where you live. You're not strangers in this community. You're a very inspiring family. But the reality is he cannot come to this school." Mom went, "He's got to go to school. Where's he going to go?" "Well, there's a school across town for kids like him." Mom went, "Kids like who?" Principal said, "Well, crippled kids." And he pointed at me. Mom looked at me, looked at him, and said, "He's not crippled." Principal looked at me and said, "Mrs. Law, he's got no arms. What do you call that?" Mom went, "Alvin." Duh. You know, Mom had an expression. Labels are for jars, not people. Yeah? Yeah, you bet. Thing is, the principal didn't laugh. You know what he said? "Be that as it may, there's nothing I can do." I need to explain something. My dad was a service manager for a place that sold tractors to farmers. You don't say, "There's nothing I can do," to a farmer. And Dad's sitting there, shocked. I saw my dad, his face was like, and then I looked at my mom and she was crying. Did I mention my dad was an ex-professional heavyweight boxer? I'm gonna miss that part. So Dad sees Mom cry. Oh, my dad loved my mom. When my mom died in 1996, my parents had been married for 66 years. I know, wonderful. And now he saw my mom cry. And then he looked at the man that made Mom cry. And then he looked at me and said, "Hey, boy, hey, Mom," called her Mom, "Hilda, go and back to the library, get another coffee, take the boy, get him another donut." The principal and I, we're gonna have a little chat now. Now, I don't know what went on in there, but 20 minutes later, Dad comes out, big smile. "Hey, kid, you're going to school here tomorrow." I know. Thank you. I was pretty sure my dad beat up the principal. I don't want to get into politics at all, not even a little bit, but I just want to ask one question. When did we get so angry? When did we get so mad at each other? When did we start imagining that violence could solve problems between peoples? I just wish we'd figure that one out and move on. Because Dad didn't believe in violence. Dad believed, however, in standing up for what you believe. But Dad also understood this principal, not a bad man, was almost in the same place as they were. He says to him, "I didn't want him either. This was his mother's idea." But he kind of grows on you. You got to give it a little time. And you got to stop looking at what's missing and see what's there. Absolutely. So we need to figure out where the sound is going to come from on this here instrument. There's always little tiny, "Hey, brother, how you doing?" I don't know. Imagine I'm playing chopsticks. Can you hear it? Can you hear it? Chopsticks sounds like this. You know what it sounds like. You can see my toes. That's what chopsticks sounds like. Worry about the last song in a minute, brother. We'll figure it out. Anyway, that is symbolic for me. Because I figured out, going to school, I learned real quick, I wasn't going to play sports. Just obvious. Soccer. By the way, can we set the record straight? It's called football. Most of the world calls it football. I digress. I was so good at soccer, I never even got the penalty for touching the ball with my hands. It was awesome. But I didn't want to play sports. I wanted to play music. We didn't own any instruments. Went to a friend's house one day. They were playing bridge. Mom and Dad loved to play cards. They sent me down to the basement. They had this piano, and I went over, and I played that song. And I didn't think it was very good either. I'm kind of going, well, here's another thing I'll never play. But Mom heard me play. And she came racing down to the basement. Was that you? I gave the standard 10-year-old answer. Do you see anybody else down here? And then she made me play it again. And then she took me on the Yorkton, Saskatchewan elderly women's tea party circuit. Hey, MDRT, thanks for this gig, but those gigs, man, those grandmas, best audience ever. They would cry, they would clap, they'd give me milk and cookies, they'd give me grandma hugs and kisses, kind of leave the lipstick stain on your forehead for like a week. I still wake up in the cold sweat in the middle of the night and smell of Chanel No. 5. Hey, it wasn't the perfume, it was the amount, remember? They used to pour it on. Do you know what those women did? They honored me. They saw me as a blessing, not a curse. And they made me feel happy inside. I went and played the piano for a lady one day. Turns out she was apparently a piano teacher. And she said, "Are these the best tech crew on the planet or what, huh?" She said, "Alvin, your toes are too short to play the piano." I went, "What? Look at them." Actually, she was right. I got short toes. But here was the problem with the answer. She didn't say what I wanted to say. No, that wasn't the answer. That's not what I'm saying. What she said was real. Reality can be very painful for all of us. Maybe we can't reach our dream or make our life what we want it to be. But what I do know is we cannot do it alone. Nobody can. We all need somebody to step into our lives and change the future. My favorite story. Fast forward, a year later, Mom gets a phone call. I want you to imagine it in real time. "Hello, Mrs. Law. My name is Blaine McClary. I am the band director for the Yorkton School Music Program. Just moved to town, instituted a new policy. All fifth graders have to take a music aptitude test." "Oh, and you have a son named Alvin?" "Yeah. Your son got 96%. "Wow, that's a good mark." "It is, Mrs. Law. That's why I'm calling. We'd love him to join the school band." "Wow. Really?" "Yeah. Does that surprise you?" "A little bit." "Do you have an instrument in mind?" Hey, you know what? Why don't we do this? You bring him up to the high school next week. He can pick any instrument he wants." "Oh, that sounds great. I just got one more question." "Sure." "Have you met him?" "No, I just got his phone number here. I'm kind of going through a list." "Okay, sir, kind of a good time to tell you that our son has no arms." "Hello? You still there?" "Yeah." "You said what?" "Yeah, he has no arms. He was born like that." He says, "I've never heard of that in my life. I wish somebody would have told me." I'm so embarrassed. You can't have a kid in the band with no arms, clearly. I mean, I'm just telling you, I don't know how to answer that. "I'm sorry, Mrs. Law. I hope I didn't disappoint you, but I got to let you go. Have a nice day." Now you're thinking, okay, wait, I'm confused now. This must be about the drum, right? No, it's not about the drum. That's not how the story goes. All I know is I walked in the house and my mom had the biggest smile I'd ever seen on her face ever. Mom had a great smile. Ugly teeth, great smile. She said, "Honey, you're going to be in the band." So she told me the whole story about the call 6 weeks earlier, and the band director guy, and she said, "Yeah," and told him you had no arms, and he hung up. I said, "Why do you keep telling people that?" He said, "They'll find out sooner or later, son." But we go to the school and we meet this man. This is pretty cheesy, corny, hokey, you pick the word. Did you ever meet somebody and you had no idea they were about to change your life? They were just another person you met, and then they became the person you thank for the rest of your life because of the difference they made? Kind of like you. Kind of like what you do for your clients, for your companies, for the human beings you make better. Give them futures, give them quality of life that they would have never anticipated because of you and your sacrifice. Yeah, that's who you are. You are like Blaine McClary, who phoned back, who put a trombone on the side of a wooden chair with metal rods that I played with my foot like this. Who does that? Who goes, no arms, trombone? That was the magical day of my life. But I didn't know it. I didn't know it. Mr. McClary says, this is what you're going to play in the band. All I could think about was, how am I going to march? In 1978, I was the lead chair trombone player in Canada's National All-Star High School Jazz Band. Yes, you can clap. I was #1 in the nation. And we're talking about all the trombone players, not the ones with special needs. Now, why did I just brag? Because I think about this all the time. What if Mr. McClary hadn't phoned back? I wouldn't be here with you tonight. I know that, because that trajectory took me into music, took me into band, took me into jazz. Jazz took me into drums. Drums took me into what you saw. In November, I played a concert in Tokyo, Japan with Katy Perry. I know, I was just name dropping. Pretty big name to drop, huh? How did that happen? Because I'm amazing? No. The lady was right. I still got short toes. But at the end of the day, one simple thing needs to be said. What do you see? Obstacles or possibilities? All right, thank you. You didn't need to clap. I got to tell you, I'm done, but I got to tell you, I didn't play that song to impress you or get your applause. I played that song because I like to play music. I like to play life. I like to celebrate every moment of my existence. And I like to say thank you to everybody who made this happen. And for you, for all of you here tonight, thank you for the gift of you. Thanks for having me.